This is LMU I'm Scott Earlin, back again with head men's basketball coach Josh Schertz. As always, coach, doing our weekly report. We're going to be talking about a little different stuff last night. Of course, the game against Brevard gets pushed to Monday with all this winter weather, but still plenty to talk about. Let's start first with the first regional rankings come out yesterday. NCAA releases their first Southeast Region poll. We knew it was going to be really close, and it ended up being really close. Mount Olive takes the top spot, though, and we got assumed by just a hair. We're in second again, though, so just talk about what you saw from those rankings.
Well, obviously, you're looking at Mount Olive, and I don't, I'm not on the committee. I know they do it. The people that are on there, I know they take it very seriously. I was on there years ago, and I know there's criteria that's, very objective in terms of how they do it, and boxes and percentages and various things, and people have a tendency just to look at record and say, well, you lost more than them, so or won more than them, so you deserve this. I usually think these things at the end of the day work themselves out. Mount Olive's had a terrific year to this point. I think they're 24-2. We're 23-1. Certainly, both teams have had a terrific run at this point. But again, I think most of these things work themselves out over time. When we still have a lot of basketball ahead of us. We have 4 games left to play here in a week. 3 of them against teams above 500. 3 of them on the road. You got an incredible stretch, plus our conference tournament. So that's included inside of the regional rankings when they do their final. And so I think you can look at it and say, we're 2, and it's, that's not a good deal or whatever. I look at it like there's still a ton of basketball left to be played. And I always tell the guys, and I believe this, you get what you earn it between the lines, and whatever you earn will be there for you at the end of the season. Is it frustrating to be 23-1 and be 2? Of course. But, it would be frustrating, I'm sure, for Mount Olive to be 24-2 and be in second. And when you have teams that have seasons like we've had, and certainly last year went through this with Aiken. They had a great year. We had a great year. We've gone through it with Augusta, where we were 27-2, and they had a great year, and it was close. And so, it's great to be in the conversation from a positive standpoint for a number 1 seed 5 years in a row. That's an incredible deal. Obviously, it hasn't fell in our favor yet. But I also believe you have to make those things happen, and how we prepare and perform. Between the lines, these next, really 2.5 weeks will dictate what we earn in terms of an NCAA tournament, berth or seeding.
Well, there's still a lot ahead, and we talked about that, so let's not dwell on the NCAA rankings. Let's look ahead. Really tough stretch coming out, made even tougher by this weather. First up, Wingate coming up. When you talk about, just to bring a soccer analogy here, Wingate, not great early on, but now they've kind of found their form. They're 7-3 in the last 10 games, sole possession of second place in the conference. We've had some, we'll say it's been a really heated rivalry the last couple of years. I think it's been a little underrated in that regard. So just talk about the task you've got in front of you with Wingate coming to town.
Well, they're playing great, like you said. Brian's team's been in the league with him now for 7 years, and we came in at the same time, and have tremendous respect for him. He's an excellent basketball coach, and one of the areas you look at when you look at coaches is, do their teams get better? And Brian's teams are always playing their best basketball when it matters the most. In February and in March, they've had great postseason success. We've played in the conference tournament 4 years in a row for some pretty big stakes, and I think we've won a couple, they've won a couple. And so, his ability to get those guys to improve and develop is just, year after year is just really, really impressive. They'll come in sole possession of second, 12-7 in the league. I think they've won 5 out of 6 maybe. And in the game they lost, Ryan Day didn't play with a concussion. They lost to Carson at home, and Day missed that game. He was their best player, and but they're talented. They're young. I think they've improved dramatically since we played them in January. Brian's teams are always among the very best in the South Atlantic Conference from a defensive standpoint, from a rebounding standpoint. Nothing different this year. They're unbelievably sound on that end. They're very athletic. They're disciplined offensively. They run good stuff. So just a very well coached, talented team, and we expect it to be a tremendous challenge on Saturday. We'll have to play very well. I think the weather and kind of the way the week has gone create some unique challenges. It will going into Saturday and then moving forward from Saturday. But now, we prepared for really Monday and Tuesday for Brevard. We thought we were going. Wednesday drops a huge snowstorm in the morning, postpones that game. Now, we gave the guys off yesterday. They were off Sunday just as a normal day off to try to kind of rest them because we know what's coming. Now we got 2 days to prep for Wingate. We got to turn our entire focus there and be ready to play. And with senior night and all the kind of stuff that goes with that. So, but we have a tremendous challenge on our hands with Wingate coming in here on Saturday.
All right, let's continue focusing on Wingate a little bit. Really, if you from an inside perspective, it's the most similar team to our style. They're very balanced. They don't have a bona fide go-to guy necessarily, just a very balanced attack, inside-outside attack. You'd already alluded to how good they are defensively, how good they are rebounding. But just kind of a balanced attack. Ryan Day's obviously, they're probably, if you were to pick out a go-to guy, it's him, 13.5 points a game. Then another outside, Xavier Griffin, and Isaiah Currington, we know all about him too. Just really a balanced attack. And it's always a tough challenge just because of the similarities, right?
Yeah, I think when you have teams, I mean, they're very sound on both sides of the ball. When you look at them, there's not one guy, and they've never been that way. Even with some of their championship teams that won the SAC tournament, and they had Odell and Dion and Ryan and Kincaid and all those kind of guys, Matalis. They've always been very balanced offensively. They have a nice blend of inside and out. They're playing, they can play traditional with two bigs, with McCall or Harrison, with Keith Griffin inside. They can play four guards. They slide Currington up to the four, or Dominguez when he's been healthy up to the four, and he'll play with a small, kind of like we do. We slide Webb up or Luquan up to the four. Again, defensively is kind of where their consistency, I think, has always been due to how sound they are defensively. They do a great job of guarding. They're big, they're physical, they're athletic, and they're great technique, preparation-wise, the whole package. And so when you play Wingate, you never expect it to be a game where you're going to score a ton of points. They do a good job of taking care of the ball. Like I said, they take good shots. And so it always comes down, to me at least, when we've played them, the team that really rebounds the ball better has success, and sometimes that's been us, sometimes that's been them, and that's going to be a key on Saturday, because both teams are going to try to do a great job of limiting easy baskets. One way to get easy baskets is through offensive rebounding, whether that's going right back up with it, or maybe you get a rebound and now there's a broken floor and you get a wide open three. So things like that can happen. So we need to make sure we're sound, putting bodies on bodies, getting five to the backboards defensively, and taking them off the glass. And I think it's a very thin margin we play Wingate. It's, we played them the first round of the tournament here last year. I think it was a 6-point game. Maybe it wasn't even that big a margin, honestly. We played them down there in January. It was it was close most of the first half, and we played really well. We went 11 for 18 from three. Jarrell had 26. I mean, we shot the ball as well as we could, and you don't ever expect that to happen again. So I hope it does. But you don't go in expecting to bomb threes and make 60+% of them. So we're going to have to do some things defensively better than we did down there, and obviously be really good about body to body and getting five in the defensive glass.
Okay, now obviously you'd already mentioned this is a very unique situation with the weather, almost like starting tournament play a week early, and how quick the turnaround is. After Wingate, 1 day rest, 1 day prep, I suppose, and you're heading to Brevard, a team that kind of is in a situation where they can make a return to the tournament, and that's a big game for them. Obviously, you don't want to look too far ahead. Your focus is on Wingate, but just you know the challenge going into Brevard on Monday. Yeah,
it's going to be a tremendous one. We just spent 2 days prepping. It's the concern you have when you have what's facing us, which is we're going to play Wingate at home on Saturday, and then we're going to have a day of preparation for Brevard, and then you're going to get on a bus on Monday, and go down and play, and you're going to play a very good Brevard team on their home floor in a TV game, and a game that's has tremendous meaning for them relative to making the conference tournament. So you're going to get a great crowd and a very inspired effort. and then you're going to get back on a bus and get back at 2:30 and 3 o'clock in the morning. This is a 3+ hour trip, and then you're going to have a very short 1-day preparation for Carson Newman, and then you have a day off, and you travel to one of our long trips here to Catawba, and then a quick short preparation, a 1-day prep for Catawba. So it really messes up your whole schedule. That being said, it's the way things fell. You can't control Mother Nature and these things. We've been through this before. We went through it last year, actually. The difference last year was these were home games, not really. The schedule was flipped, right? So we played home games, and that's a little bit different. I've got to make sure that I do a good job of trying to keep these guys rested and not pound them too much as we get through this, and that physically and mentally we're ready for the challenge, obviously Saturday, but that we're able to have a quick turnaround and be ready to go against Brevard on Monday. If you're talking about 2 totally different games and 2 totally different schemes and 2 totally different styles and what it takes to be successful, you got to do some different things to play against Brevard like you do against a Wingate. So it's going to really test our guys. Fortunately, we have some guys that have been around the block. And our depth, hopefully, the fact that, I think we have 2 guys in Luquan and Lorenzo that average right at 30 minutes a game. I think KP's the next highest at 21, and nobody else averages 20 minutes a game. So the fact that we play 10 or 11 guys, hopefully, will help from a freshness standpoint. But it's going to be, when you combine the travel, 4 games in 7 days, the most physically and mentally taxing week that we've had since I've been here. And then you spin that right in and you get right into postseason play. So we have to do a good job of figuring out a way to keep our guys mentally, physically fresh. And then obviously the whole goal is, to be playing your best basketball as you head in the postseason. We've got to kind of find a way to navigate this and leave this stretch next Sunday with still something left in the tank, because the postseason will be right on the horizon.
Well, it's going to be a sprint to the finish, Coach, and then tournament players right upon us. So best of luck this week.
Appreciate it, Scotty. Thanks.